Well, it's 12 o'clock. I suppose we should probably get started. First off, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Class 3 Smart Sewer Program RPR Information Session Workshop. Should have received, we sent out the class material for Class 1 and 2, as well the RPR reference manual. If you didn't receive that, just go ahead and put your name in the chat and we'll get that sent along. Overview of Class 2, we discussed inspection components with a different project type, covered sanitary inspection items, water main replacement, vertical construction and facility projects, and green infrastructure projects. And we highlighted a few important inspection aspects of each project type and verifying the adherence to the contract documents. Today, Class 3's agenda, we'll go over five different sections, going over documentation overview of the daily observation reports. So that's documentation and photo standards and some tips. KC Water's project management software, which is now eBuilder, kind of provide a general overview of that. Obviously, we can't get in great detail, but hopefully give you some helpful tips there as well. We'll discuss the schedule of values and quantity tracking, the importance of tracking and confirmation of the items that are completed, and then processing of the contractor payment applications. So first off, we wanted to utilize our interactive polling mechanism here through Teams. Just wanted to kind of reach out and see you as the RPR, have you currently had access, or do you currently have access to the city's project management software site eBuilder, or have you dealt with this software before in the past, dealing with other clients? So it looks like so far a good portion has had experience with eBuilder, so that's good. Yeah, it's a little different as far as Smart Sewer goes. It's a little bit different than AConnex, but you know, once you get access and you get in there and you're able to mess around, it's not too bad. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, so with that, we'll get into daily observation reports and documentation. The daily report should be a little bit more than just tracking and showing quantities. It's kind of a summary of the work done and other interactions with the contractor, residents, or other folks that may visit the site. You know, it can also capture other important details. So more than just the work itself. You know, restorations example, if for some reason you're out on site, you see Spire down the road, you know, installing service lines or something, it's probably worthwhile to take a photo just to document that or state that within the daily report. Could be useful for later on if an issue were to arise. The daily report is just a template that has fields. You know, the intent is to kind of fill out those fields, not just kind of insert your table that says see attached table with the quantities and stuff like that. FOMs and Smart Sewer and city staff review these dailies, just kind of keeping lookout for progress of work, potential issues that they may see, and they also refer back to these, helping to respond to 311s. So we're kind of looking for just that window into what was completed that day. So you're kind of recreating the day or painting a picture for the person that's reading the report. So kind of think of it from, you know, the project manager's viewpoint, where they might not be able to visit the site too often. You just want to be able to provide a narrative that kind of, you know, paints that picture. And then as far as timing goes, we're looking for the daily reports to be completed and submitted by the next business day afternoon. So hopefully before lunchtime of the next business or working day. As far as project photos go, these are very important as well, not only serving as documentation of the work that's completed, but the conditions of the work, and it can also provide broad view of the work area. So it could show some other aspects that'll be important later on down the road. We'll kind of get into this a little bit more later. So with that, we got Tina Haas, FOM, construction manager with the city, and she's going to talk a little bit more about the importance of the daily report documentation.
All right, so we know with communication, you always want to make sure and put that on your daily report as well. So when it comes to, for instance, when producing that paper trail, when you communicate with somebody verbally on the phone and you are trying to be in communication with them repetitively, and you actually get that email and put it in that email, and then also put that on your daily report. Hey, I produced this email on this day. I spoke to the project manager and they've stated this, or any other line of communication with the utility, for instance, and just, hey, it was nice to talk with you, and you said such and such during this meeting, and having that documentation to where you'll know that this is the event starting and going down through that timeline. When it comes to, risk management and having, everything documented, just for instance of Evergy, or risk management for potentially this could happen at this location at this time, having that on there and being able to refer to that schedule and to help when it comes to possibly a futuristic change order, or being more detailed for you. The contractor is stated on this day at this time, we're going to be at this station. Well, in whatever may reasoning, they might end up changing it due to there's a utility conflict. So they might lose this time. So that would need to be captured in the daily report. So then when the contractor wants to get that extension of time through a change order, that would be documented. For identifying all of the individuals and what is taking place and what type of materials are even being delivered, and literally the facts of the job are a crucial detail to how smooth that a final would go. And when it comes to, I guess we could go to the next one. So to kind of, I guess, talk more about the staff transitions on and off the project. Those are also a critical point too. So for instance, if we have one project manager that was here at the beginning, and I'm mentioning Town Fort Creek. So those of you who are involved with Town Fort Creek, we've had already a project manager change. And so in transition of that project manager change, that's noted on the daily report. So then the new project manager can pick up exactly where the other project manager left off to do what they need to do, what possibly may have happened. If there's an existing RFP, RFI, that is actually in continuation of work and that you're aware of, or that if you have an existing RFI on your project site and they're working on it today, okay, well, hey, this crew worked at this station from 0 + 0 0, and they ended at 0 + 20. Okay. And then they worked on this RFI and finished it, or they'll be continuing it tomorrow. If there were to be an existing RFI that's out there. So with record, with recording and record and also with the red line, keeping that narrative and keeping all the details captured would help the transition of any staff, even RPRs. There's multiple RPRs that always change on jobs. It's so beneficial to that report, what's taken place and exactly who did what with that daily report. So when changing of hands, who is in the field, they can just pick up exactly where was left off. Going from possibly, Monday, Wednesday, Friday to Tuesday, Thursday with the change of inspectors, with the change of RPRs. That's very beneficial and helpful, and also on your daily report. So, the items that can happen on a daily report, you always have your 9 a.m. weather. So always at 9 a.m., I always encourage the RPRs to do it at 9 a.m. just as like a 9 a.m. check. Check the weather channel, check your car, whatever the case is. It actually has on there what type of weather it is. It's 68 degrees and it's partly cloudy. All right, weather conditions are good. Contractor can continue working. If there were to be like a weather condition at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and it thunderstormed and rained, okay, contractor left for the day due to the weather conditions weren't suitable for work, or due to the weather, the contractor couldn't continue, or just having that also noting on your daily report that it was not suitable due to weather conditions would also help with future claims or future delays or future activities that might be delayed before that work could actually get done. So just having that infrastructure and knowing what was done at the project site, what type of pipes went in, what exactly is going on in your job. If you're looking at facilities, what basin are they working at? Green infrastructure of biocells or rain gardens. Knowing exactly, also noting on there when it comes to the details of that daily construction activity report, putting down a sheet too. That's also, it's so beneficial for when the report happens and, at this station, well, what page are you on? What sheet is actually having work done on it? So if you actually go into the more detail and the better narrative, even if you think it's the most minute comment or note on your report, trust me, it's very important to those who are not out there every day. And then also just noting in the remarks, just like Aspire was at the location, possibly at biocell number 2, or, there was a meeting that took place, or one of those, or, and this was actually the resolution of the meeting that took place. Just, and that also goes into the next point about who's the visitors and what items were discussed. And,
Yeah, so the site visitors could be, a number of people, safety officer from the contractor, project manager visiting the site. If you're close to particular, like a MoDOT project, if there's any other staff that may come by, Public Works, any utilities or any other municipality officials. So,
or if you're working on a creek with possibly the waterways and the lab is coming out to take a sample, get that noted on there. It's there isn't ever too much information that could be put on a daily report. Just getting those critical details, like how many crews are exactly there, and actually noting them on the report in the remarks. Crew number 1, laid sewer line at, again, station 0+00 to station 2+00. And they didn't hoe ram any rock, or, if they had 3 different crews, note exactly what location and what sheet they're on and what the crew was doing. So crew number 1 was laying sanitary line at this station. Crew number 2 was laying water line at this station on this sheet. And same with crew number 3. And getting that type of detail and getting that on the report, and then following up with photos and making sure that those photos were also captured at the same time that those daily reports are happening. And, making sure as well, so what links everything together is that set of plans and that field mark prints that you are also doing at the same time that these other items are happening too. Daily report, photos, they all link together. They all have their meaning. And I can't, just tell you enough about how documentation and get the facts on that, on the report, and how much of an importance this is for, people on site, people off site, keeping this of record. So if you actually need to go back to it as well, if you need to find it, exactly also what you're finding and what you're reading. So, pertaining to everything pertaining to this, if you were actually doing a time and materials, everything with time and materials down to the what time a dump truck got there, to what time the dump truck left, to every ticket that steps or is on that job, how many tons of gravel, to how many hours of what machine was used and when. It's almost like taking a stopwatch to that report and just having it all noted. And then, for progress and what exactly is going to happen in the future. And, what is being done, and everything there. I wouldn't have, as well with the visitors, because that's also another huge thing with time and materials, who visited the job. And for any type of, lump sum job as well, those are also another type of project that would need a sign off for the SOV on a monthly, to where you would need to keep track of the schedule of values and how much they've used, and where it is, so you can go back to it and know exactly, so you can process your schedule of values. When it comes to also the importance of what comes up on the job, whatever might be an issue, And then, like, for instance, hey, this gas main is going through bio cell number 2. The gas main was resolved, or there was a resolution that came to close when the, Spire had mentioned that the gas main was actually already encased with cast iron. So the resolution was, hey, it's marked. Make sure they also, whoever it is futuristically working in that area, calls 811, which is USIC or one call, and they get those utility locates out there. The other main thing that all of this also goes down to is that picture that you see up there on the right. And it's that record drawing, and it shows exactly what is taking place, what size it is, what it's going to, what size the firm coat is, where exactly even the bins that are being used. It's a 45, it's a 22, with those record drawings. I mean, so when it comes to those record drawings, fittings, valves, if they put in an ARV on a force main or an ARV on a water main, that all of those are also captured on those red lines. And then it's also noted on the daily report. Those type of materials that are being delivered, and on stored materials. So that's been a big one lately, for the stored materials. Make sure you get photos and get them uploaded to the report. Note exactly on the report what was delivered today. If your daily report actually also, when there is no work taking place due to the weather conditions, make a daily report of that. Stayed on there. Hey, contractor wasn't working at location due to weather conditions. Make a report of that. Again, those type of reports are the facts. Those type of reports, you can either have a justification for a time extension, or hey, it was a sunny day and the contractor wasn't working today and they want extra time. Well, you have all that noted and recorded to where you have the important items of either justifying and having a justification for a time extension, or saying, no, this isn't acceptable. It can't, the time extension won't be granted. So just making sure that those daily reports, even the ones that, I guess you would think wouldn't need it, would not be needed. They actually are.
Okay, so with that, in addition to your actual daily report, photographic documentation is very important as well. That be taken periodically through construction of obviously the work that's being completed. So that could be like tie-ins. And then as well, other items kind of outside the box, utility crossings, any other unusual conditions, and progress of work at specific or select locations, as well as just snap a photo of any verification testing that's completed. And then it's not necessarily, I guess, something that we'd like to see, but it's not something that you have to do. Is particularly have your photos timestamped. This was easier to do when everybody was using digital cameras, which some might be. But there are apps out there now, if you as the RPR is using your camera on your phone, that'll timestamp specific picture and provide a location as well. I know that one that I use is called Timestamp Camera. It's just a free app through the App Store, but it's very useful. And this is just an example. So the photo on the left there is a photo that was taken with that particular app. You can see it gives the date, time, and an address. So just something to think about. I'm not, pressing you to say that this is something you have to do, but I found it very helpful, and it is helpful as well as these daily reports come in and kind of looking at photos to see that timestamp as well as the location. And just compare that to the photo on the right. That was taken with a digital camera, and obviously that's timestamped as well, which is great. But just a couple options for you to think about. So with that, as the RPR, I kind of want to get your take on what device you're currently utilizing to take your photographs. Just thought it'd be interesting to see if you're still using a digital camera or potentially like an iPad or a Surface Pro or your cell phone, or maybe there's some other means to take photos. So if you look in the chat and go ahead and select what you're currently utilizing, that'd be great. Pretty interesting to see what everybody's using these days. So it looks like about 80% are using cell phones. Looks like we may have a couple that are using an iPad or Surface Pro. Just curious, how does that work for you? You find that pretty sufficient, or it's a little bit taxing to do, I guess? I know in the past I've used a Surface Pro a bit, and it was pretty handy as long as you had a nice case to kind of protect it. Maybe they're not on the calls. Okay, so this is an example of some photos that are typically attached to a daily report. So this specific project obviously is a NSR INI linear project. So you can see like throughout the day, they've taken photos of pipe bursting and kind of, the pit itself, the bursting unit, particular tie-in to the manhole there on the top right. Bottom left is just the air testing and verification that was done. And as you see, the bottom right there is kind of the overview shot of that particular tie-in area, as well as utilities that were close to this particular area. So that just gives a general idea of kind of the different aspects throughout the day of potentially what you can take photos of, and kind of how that helps paint the picture of the work that's being completed. And other important items with the daily photos. So on the left is a green infrastructure project, and the RPR noted that there was some plugs that had kind of became unsettled or not fully planted within the basins. And if you think, that's something that obviously you could document within your daily report. But the reasoning why this particular photo or a photo similar to this is even more important is it kind of shows what is actually going on at that particular time. So maybe later on down the road, if a number of these plants were to die, the contractor can't come back and say, well, it was from such and such event, plants were flooded or something along those lines. Could look back and say, well, no, here's kind of what went on. We have this photographic evidence of these plants not being fully planted.
So on the right, you'll see a tie-in of a water main on Turkey Creek. And what you'll see on there is the work isn't exactly fully done yet, but you'll see that this happened on 10/27 of 2020 at 10:24 in the morning. And you know, when it comes to this, the T obviously does not have the poly wrap on it. And when I say poly wrap, it's the blue that looks like a trash bag that goes over the water main. It's to help the life of the water main. It gives it some extra years to the life expectancy of the pipe. So what you'll see too is the contractor at this location, they put it fully on the valve. The valve is, you'll see the silver part directly up in the corner of that photo. That's actually a valve. They have it fully covered. And that's just one of the items with the water main that has to happen. Now, the reason for also with the T, they're not fully done yet. They haven't made that tie-in, it looks like, to the north with the pipe yet. So but this is also another one of those items that it's good to take photos during events and when they're happening. Don't just take one before and after. You know, you can get those photos that you can do the during construction photos, and that's what this one was. And they got a during the water tie-in photo, and they have it timestamped, so it looks like at 10:24 they weren't going over that 4-hour minimum. I mean, you start taking photos possibly between the 9 and 1, which is normally when those water tie-ins happen. You would note then that they are over their time limit. Going down to the bottom of that photo, that one is a tie-in of an S-bend that they're fully complete. And they just have to get that backfill done, and possibly as well, because that's an S-bend, you know, making sure that the gravel is just chinked completely fully under it, and getting that backfill right. And, you know, the main thing on those is, you know, it's actually also being captured about the backfill and what is around it, that there's utilities in the area.
So also with the photos, kind of as Tina said, you know, if you're looking to the right, just providing a general snapshot as the work progresses. This particular work item is a casting replacement, so you can see that they've put on the I&I barrier in the casting and then completed the 4x4 pad around the casting.
What's the I&I barrier?
The yellow top hat there.
There we go.
And then you know, the two snippets to the left are examples, kind of what Tina talked to earlier, you know, identifying the plan sheet and then providing a little bit of a blurb of the work that was completed. And then the bottom left there is a little snippet of basically the quantity tracking spreadsheet, and it just provides that picture of the work item that was completed as well. So these can be important items to include within your daily reports also. So if you do use your cell phone, these days there's an option to use a panoramic picture. So, and also with that, you know, just taking a overview of the project area can be beneficial. So the photo on the left is the CID project. Particular work that day was work within the channel. But this particular photo was used later on to demonstrate some lack of watering by the subcontractor of the sod and also some dying trees. So that's just another example out there of, you know, hey, at this time I'm taking this overview photo, showing kind of the work in the general area, but you know, it also paints a picture outside of the work that's being completed that day. Photo on the right, kind of the same instance. You know, obviously they're working on the basin, but providing this panoramic photo later on down the line provided an idea of the other work items that were being completed throughout the day, if the contractor were to come back and, claim that, there was so-and-so working just south of the basin, this photo was kind of used to say, well, actually, that's not the case. So just keep that in mind as you're out there and you're taking photos throughout the day. It might be a good idea to take these overview photos, at least a couple times a week to keep those included. Another great example of why an overview photo is important. So the photo to the left is of a tie-in of a service lateral connection. And the photo to the right is a particular 311 that we received probably 2 years after the fact. So going back to the daily report, this provides a very accurate snapshot of what went on within the particular project area that provided detailed evidence that, yes, this was project related. And it's something that, without these photos, you're just kind of depending on any as-built information, which obviously provides, measurements off the manholes, but these photos really kind of paint accurately a picture of, yes, they were in this area. So as we kind of receive these 301 claims, and we do go back through the daily reports at that time to try to find, particular information to make an accurate determination if it is a warranty item that should be completed by the contractor. So with this, we'll get into project management software and the RPR's responsibilities. As you're aware, we've transitioned, or KC Water's transitioned from Aconex to eBuilder, not only for daily reports, but also payment applications, submittals, schedule reviews, DP invoicing. All those processes are now done within eBuilder as well. So how to get eBuilder access. As an RPR, obviously, once you've been assigned to a project, just make sure that the project manager or the city project manager is aware and they have sent a new user request. That's done through a form within eBuilder. If you are the lead RPR, keep in mind too, if you have known assistant RPRs that are going to be active on the project, go ahead and get ahead of that and get them a new user request as well. For a couple of reasons. One, obviously it takes a little bit of time to get access, but two, as the project goes on and they're not necessarily on the project yet, they could be keeping an eye on the daily reports, and how, taking a look at what work's going on at that particular time. As the RPR, your specific project participant role will be the construction observer. So just keep that in mind as well as you see these processes, that's your role. You're not, it's a little confusing because there's a construction observer and there's also a construction manager, but the RPR is the actual construction observer. Upcoming eBuilder training. If we have some RPRs, a number of RPRs that have upcoming projects, go ahead and shoot me an email. We could potentially try to schedule some live training. If not, once you are able to get access to eBuilder, we can pull some prior training documents from the knowledge reservoir that basically outline some eBuilder processes. So go ahead and just shoot me a note if that's something that you're interested in, and I can provide that information. And then where to find the daily report forms and how to fill out the form. We'll get into that here. Obviously, we can't get too much in the weeds, but I can provide just a general kind of overview steps of how to do this. So what you're looking at here is basically the background screen. The longer screen is a snippet of eBuilder, and to access the particular form location, you'll see on the project menu, drop-down option called Forms. You'll want to click that, and then on the top right, fill out forms, which will bring up a box of all the workflow forms. And the particular template that we're using is called the daily field observation form. So you would click that option, and it would bring you to the template to go ahead and fill out the information for your daily report. This particular template was composed to mirror what's within the bid documents, and also what was previously used in the AConnect's daily report form. So it's kind of more geared towards what's in the bid documents, but there are some particular drop-down options that were in the AConnect's daily report form as well. When you're filling out your form, just make sure to go ahead and put the date within the subject line. That's very important. I know in the past in AConnect's we had some project folders that had a couple projects within the folder, and we were asking folks to go ahead and put the project name as well. But within eBuilder, each project has their own folder, so we are good with just the actual date on the report. Once you fill out and complete your form, there's one last step that's pretty important. You need to make sure that you're hitting the close form option there in yellow. That'll actually post your form to the Documents menu tab. It'll be under the Construction folder and under Daily Reports. And this here is just a snippet of kind of what a filled out daily report looks like once it posts. So you can kind of see the different templates, drop-down box options to be used within the report. Keep in mind, as throughout the day, as you're filling out information for the daily report, you can kind of get ahead of the time that it takes to submit these reports, whether it's going the old school route and using a notepad and sitting down at the end of the day and typing out the information, or what I really like to do is use an iPad or my phone within the notes option and just kind of keep that updated through the day, and going ahead and forwarding that information to my email to copy and paste within eBuilder or AConnect. So just keep that in mind. I mean, I know everybody's kind of got their own method, but if you keep up on the information throughout the day, we kind of expect to take maybe 45 minutes to an hour to sit down and get these daily reports submitted. So with that, next we have Kevin DeVoto. He'll talk a little bit about schedule values and how those are. You got a question, Tyler?
Yes, I've used eBuilder a little bit, but not very much. Is there a way that you can save a draft, where you can get started on your report and then it's saved so you don't lose it, and you can come back to it at the end of the day so you don't have to do it? Or is that just not?
There is. There should be a save option or button within the form location. Just make sure that you don't post it. Even if you do post your form by accident, you can still get in there and amend it. So,
Okay, thanks.
CK Brewster also has a question. Who should we contact for the eBuilder training? Go ahead and if you want that type of training, just email Drew, and then hopefully we'll be able to get something set up with Alvina.
Shoot me an email with your name, and then also what particular project that you're currently working on or planning to be working on. Like I said,
that's the Andrew Taylor email.
Yeah, AG Taylor.
Okay.
I'll put my email in the chat here.
Yeah, I just sent it. Just sounds good.
Okay. Yeah, we'll probably need a decent group to go ahead and have a live training. But if we don't have enough, like I said, I can shoot over some helpful previous training documents that should help out as well.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, no problem. All right, with that, we'll have Kevin Devoto speak a little bit about schedule values and RPR's role in reviewing and approving the schedule values.
All right, thanks, guys. So looking into the schedule of values, there's a couple of different touch points to these documents for the RPR. First one here is kind of in the initial phase of the project. I mean, obviously the RPR is not going to be solely responsible for approving of the schedule of values, but I think it's helpful to have them review it. I think they can have some insightful comments, and then as they're going to be the one using the document to, watch the progress of the project throughout. It's good for them to take a look at it early on. So making sure that the contractor, that the schedule of values is generally in line with the value of the work. Basically, we don't want to have a schedule value line item that's 80 grand when there's only 20 grand worth of work being done for that particular line item. So RPRs see a lot of this stuff. They're the first line out there. That they see a lot of the change orders. Hopefully, you guys have some other folks that help out with this, but I think they can offer some insightful comments on it. So, getting them involved early, I think, is important for that purpose. The other item is, it's generally in line with the value of the work. You can also, the schedule of values spec sections that are in many of the smart sewer documents. Sometimes they're housed in spec section 1270, adjustment unit prices, measurement procedures. Occasionally they're housed in 1290 payment procedures, kind of depending on the project and how much unit price work there is. But it lists out a lot of different requirements in there, and there's one of the common ones is a correlation between project schedule and the schedule value. So having them involved with reviewing the schedule, reviewing the schedule values to see that correlation, see how things come together, I think is helpful both for getting their comments and then getting them familiar with the project, so that they know what they're going to be observing. The second part of this would be the review of the applications for monthly payments with the contractor. So they're going to be the first ones to take a look. So as the contractor develops their payments, we expect the RPRs to take a look at it, make sure that what the contractor is asking for makes sense from what they've observed in the field, and give that feedback back to the comments so that we're not getting payment applications that come through that don't match what's out in the field. And then, because once these payments get so far all online, it's hard to step back and restart the process. So if there's major discrepancies between what the contractor is submitting and what's been done in the field, we expect the RPR to understand those things and spot those discrepancies early on. So there's really two options to look at that. You can have the RPR sit down with the contractor each month as these payments come in, work through that schedule of values with them and sign off on it prior to the contractor uploading it into eBuilder, or there is a RPR workflow / step in the eBuilder process for these pay applications. It can really be done either way. But I kind of recommend the first one just because there's oftentimes changes that need to be made to the schedule of values as we get into it. So this is just a page of a signed off schedule of values. There's nothing fancy to this. It needs to have their name, the date they signed it, hopefully legibly, so we know who it is. And it's not just a scribble, but if you do this, then we can put it into the eBuilder process, and it can move on down the line to the next step.
Thanks, Kevin. With that, we'll move into RPR verification for payment, and this includes quantity tracking and schedule review as well. With the quantity tracking, the daily quantities completed or input into the tracking spreadsheet. It's important to go ahead and keep a spreadsheet to make sure that you're keeping up with these quantities on at least a weekly, if not daily basis. The spreadsheet produces a cumulative total of the rehab schedule or the other work items on the schedule values. Like I said, it is utilized to to produce the monthly quantity totals, and obviously you're checking that up against the schedule of values for that particular month that the contractor submits. It can also produce an up-to-date project quantity amount or percent complete of the schedule of values. As far as schedule reviews, on the RPR level, a lot of times you're dealing with the monthly schedule updates, which say monthly should be updated every 30 days. And an approved schedule will be submitted with the payment application. So what we're kind of asking is the contractor uploads their monthly schedule updates a couple weeks before they're anticipating on uploading their payment application. Within the schedule updates, they need to identify any changes from the previous update, any corrective actions, or a summary of claims or delays that are to be anticipated. Those should be stated within their narrative that's attached to their schedule. So with the use of eBuilder, there's now a process called, the drop-down menu is CSR, so it stands for Construction Schedule Review. There is a handy YouTube video. If you use the QR code on this slide, it'll take you to a link of the YouTube video, and it basically walks all steps through the CSR review through uploading and reviewing the schedule. So I would highly recommend, taking a snap, getting your phone out, using the QR code to view this particular YouTube video. It's very helpful. Keep in mind when you're reviewing the schedule, the RPR is the first step within the process. So make sure that you're swiftly completing a review so that way we're not holding up payments to the contractors. All right, lastly, we're going to talk about payment application processing. The pay app review, it's obviously a crucial component to construction project. Again, it's important that these are reviewed in a timely manner so we're not holding up the contractor's payment. Kind of as we stated earlier, make sure that the monthly quantity totals are verified or revised as needed before the pay application is uploaded by the contractor. Within the monthly pay application, there's some documents that'll be included within the process, and these are obviously the pay app cover sheet itself, the approved schedule of values, the contractor's compliance audit reports, and the monthly approved schedule and narrative. So, within your review, take a look and verify that the amounts carried over from the previous payment application are correct. Sometimes we'll see like a rounding error. It could just be a penny off or so, but that will kind of hold things up as it works its way up to the city CA department. So keep that in mind during your review as well. That'll kind of help expedite any potential problems as payment application works itself out through the routing process. This here is just a general idea of kind of what to look for within the payment application itself. You got your cover sheet. And as Kevin stated earlier, the photo to the far right is the schedule of values and the RPR signing off on the schedule of values. The second sheet of the payment application, there's not a spot for the RPR to sign off on. I know that it's a little confusing just judging by particular spots, but it's really got signature lines for the DPPM, construction manager, the smart sewer / city PM, and the smart sewer division head. So go ahead and just leave the two sheets alone and just focus on review of the schedule of values and getting that signed.
Or have it docu-signed. It doesn't just have to be like signature anymore.
Right. Yeah. Kevin kind of mentioned that there's a couple options. You can sign it before the contractor uploads it or within DocuSign. Just want to make sure that before they upload it, that you have reviewed it don't want to get in a situation where contractor uploads something and then you review it once it's in eBuilder and there's a discrepancy. So, but there are two options for signature. So within eBuilder, this is give you an idea of kind of what you're looking at within the payment application process. When it gets into your particular step, it's pretty small there, but in the middle, there's invoice details. When the contractor uploads their payment, just make sure, particularly on the first payment application going forward, that they do click yes for is there a CM on the project, and yes for construction observer on the project. That just kind of helps make sure that these route through the workflow correctly. This also, within the invoice documentation details, you can see that they have attached the actual payment application itself, the schedule of values, the actual schedule update, and for this particular payment, they were invoicing for a change order, so they have also attached their certificate of insurance and the change order itself, the executed change order. So just wanted to provide an idea what you'll be seeing as these payment applications come through your step within eBuilder. And lastly, as a design professional or RPR, just make sure that, like we stated before, that you're kind of looking for correct quantities and that the work's progressed to the point that's indicated on the contractor's invoice, that it's, the quality is in accordance with the contract documents, and the conditions of the work meet this criteria as well. The contractor is entitled to the payment that they're invoicing. So let's say, for instance, that they're billing for a bunch of CIPP or trenchless rehab. Just make sure that you've received any post CCTV and reviewed it before they're billing for these items. And lastly, this is a little bit outside the box, but as far as payroll interviews go, city follows the Missouri Department of Labor standards. Everybody, these projects have a certified payroll, and it's important. You're looking out for, as the project starts at CREO KC, they will have particular staff members perform periodic site visits. So just keep that in mind as well. It's something that you can report on your daily report. As you get closer to the pre-construction meeting, just keep that in mind as well. Let your PM know, hey, just wanted to remind you that we need to invite somebody from the CREO KC staff. A particular individual that typically deal with is Valerie Johnson with CREO KC. So as these projects kick off, you see her around on site. That's kind of what she's doing. So with that, it's all the material we had for this class. Looks like it's almost 1 o'clock. We do have next class scheduled for next Thursday, the 15th at 12 p.m. again. As of last time, I will plan on sending out a PDF of the slideshow for any reference material. So hope to see you guys the next couple of weeks as we move into fall. So with that, have a great rest of your day, and
Go Chiefs.
Talk to you guys later.
Thanks.
Thank you.